As you may know, SmartBuilder gives you the ability to create different layouts to target different devices. So for example, here I have a more traditional desktop layout, and I can create a phone portrait layout and rearrange the objects on the page. Within a layout, all pages have the same width. For example, every page in this lesson has a width of 1000 pixels. Individual pages can have different heights, however. So for example, this is a particularly tall page at 885, while the rest of my pages are a more traditional landscape layout of 563. A new feature added in 4.6 is the ability to add scaling on the desktop. So to alter that, we can go to Edit and Lesson Settings. And from here, we can choose how the scaling will work on desktop. So there's Fixed Size, Scale to Width, and Scale to Width and Height. We can also adjust how the scaling works on a mobile device. So let's take a look at these three options here. So here we have this version of the lesson set to not scale, and we can see that it's always going to be at a fixed size. So even if my browser window is much larger, it'll always be the same size. So if we go to the previous page, we can see that, and the previous page, this one's a little bit taller. If my browser is smaller, then I would get a scroll bar, and I would have to scroll up and down to see more content. So this is the fixed size setting. Let's take a look at the scale width setting. So here what it's done is it has taken that same lesson and scaled it up so that it fits the width of my browser window. So we'll take a look at the same page on the fixed size, and we can see this is the approximate size. Scaled up, it looks like this. So this is only paying attention to the width. The height is a little bit bigger than the available screen real estate, so I do have to scroll up and down a little bit to view all of the content. That is more pronounced on pages that are taller. So here again, it's fitting the width of the page, and then when I scroll down, I can see the rest of my content. Now let's take a look at the third option, scaling width and height. So this is similar to the scale width, but it's also constrained by the height. So what it's doing here is increasing the size of this lesson until it either bumps into one of the sides or the top or the bottom. In this case, it's bumping into the top and the bottom, so we can see there's a little bit of extra space on the sides as it scales proportionally. So this is the scaling width to height on this page. This is the scaling width to that same page. So here we have to scroll up and down, and no scale on this page. When scaling the width and the height, the larger, taller pages, so here it is scaling the content down so that we don't have to look at it with scroll bars. So that size difference is much greater when we have a taller page. So you can see the difference between this page and this page. So here's how it looks when we scale both the width and the height on a tall page. If we were to scale only the width, the taller the page, the more scrolling we get. And if we use fixed size, we would get a scroller or not, but the content would always remain at the same size. Regarding the scaling on mobile devices, we usually recommend scaling to width. This tends to look best on most mobile devices. You can scale to width and height. Usually we don't recommend that because, again, if you're using different page heights, it will shrink the content down to such a small size that it's either difficult to read text or interact with various interactive elements, like it might be a button that's a little bit too small to click on. However, if you're using the same page height across your lesson, sometimes you can get away with using scale width to height, and it'll look good on mobile devices. So it just depends on the nature of your content.